Any others?
Well, just that after deciding not to be a negative thinker, it took a while. I actually decided to use the 12-step program
Good.
and just use it as though I was addicted to negative thinking. And it made me realize how all of us are addicted to maybe not drugs or pornography or whatever, but we're all addicted to some behavior, and it's not leading us to Jesus Christ. And so that was one way for me to come closer to Jesus Christ, as well as realize that I had a weakness, I had an addiction to being negative, and that it needed to stop.
Sweet. Thank you for sharing that. Any others how about your learning from your companions? Any others stand out of your...
Well, like I talked about, there's one Elder Cardenas. He was one of my favorite companions, and he taught me that he was one of those that helped me realize that I could have fun and be a missionary. It was I was having a hard time with that, but right around the middle of my mission, he helped me, and that was actually when things started turning around positively for my mission, just helping me to realize that I needed to,
Enjoy.
that I could,
Mission was supposed to be fun.
and not only mission, but life in general. Like I can work hard, but I still need to have fun, and I can have fun. It's not impossible.
Just so you're aware, just a little bit, we've seen you since you came back. We can tell.
Okay.
I can tell. Okay, so here's another one. Which of the nieces and nephews surprised you the most on returning?
That's a funny question. When we went over and had like that Sunday lunch dinner with them,
Or in
actually Utah. It was super interesting just to see how big everyone's gotten. Super fun to me also how they still remember me and still wanted me to play with them and do things with them. All of them were like, Kieran.
You were in their prayers the whole time.
Yeah, I know.
Of course they did.
Let's see here. Some of the fun ones that I liked was Liam was just really cute to me, just really wanting me to have fun. I had a conversation with DJ just how impressed I was about just how big he is and how he's getting really big, and it's super cool.
2 years is a long time at that age.
It is. Lucy's super funny just because she can be like a little girl, but all of a sudden she'll be, Kieran, play with me. Hey, Kieran. Let's see. Yeah, all of them just had a sweet spirit, and it was just
grown up more,
and it was just really cute.
Okay, what we got the pack of books, or your mom did, that you had sent home, the Books of Mormon, that you had to ask a question, read it, and answered your question.
Mm-hmm.
And you had how many of those?
Like 20.
One for almost every month of your mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's your main takeaway from doing that study?
Well, we learn to preach my gospel, but sometimes you gotta try it out. But there's a section of it that says that the Book of Mormon answers questions of the soul. Grandpa's talked a lot about that, and some of those questions were really gospel oriented, like who is our Heavenly Father, who is Jesus Christ, and those ones were obviously answered by the Book of Mormon. But even some of those weird questions of the soul that were my questions of the soul, like for example, how can I be more positive? How can I combat anxiety? How can I be a good brother? All those things came out in the Book of Mormon, and someone who from the outside might think, well, how could that book answer them? But I came to know that that's true, and that one thing also is it talks about Moroni's promise in chapter 10, 3-5, that talks about if you ask these things of me, I'll tell you if they're true or not. That's talking about the Book of Mormon, but you can pray about any of the things you learn in the Book of Mormon and figure out if they're true.
Love that. I love that you are a witness of that.
Yes.
Okay. I remember one of the kids asked you, here you were in the United States of America, but in Latin land, what is the worst or the weirdest thing you ate on your mission?
I had some things that were weird but were good. like tacos de lengua, which is like cow tongue. Really, I actually liked that a lot. One of the things I didn't like was menudo, which is the inner linings of a cow stomach. So I had that, and it wasn't that great, but
We had that in Chile too. In fact, we told the missionaries they couldn't eat it, so they didn't have to have an excuse. I mean, they could have an excuse. That it?
Let's see what else. I had pig hoof one time, pig ear.
Oh my.
That was fun. I sent a picture of that home. That was really fun. Let's see here. I just really learned that I liked that type of food. I've already been to the taqueria right here like twice since I got home. So, yeah.
You and Grandpa. He sneaks over there all the time without me. Okay. This was a question that was asked you. From the first of your mission to the end, what is the biggest thing that you learned?
That's a loaded question.
That's hard.
Yeah. Well, I'll choose probably one of the bigger ones.
Okay.
Probably is one of the bigger ones, so we could say it's one of the biggest thing I learned. Is I learned about a little bit, maybe not all of it, because I still have a long way to go, but I learned a little bit about what God thinks of me, and how, my whole life I'd kind of been concerned about who I was, what I needed to do, but my Father showed me that He loved me and that He had something bigger for me to do, and that revolved around being missionary, but then also afterwards, I don't really know what's in front of me, but figure out when I get there, and I'm super excited because one thing I learned is the best is yet to come.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you for that witness. Okay. Is there someone who you felt like crying when you said goodbye to them?
There's a couple. I remember it was actually my second area. My first area was kind of weird. I didn't quite understand it, so I got moved, and it was kind of that's that. But the second area, there was a family that I really loved, the Guzman family, and they were so close to being baptized, and I just struggled really hard with that family just to make sure that they could just be maybe not even get baptized, but just be a functional family. I get my call to get transferred to leave, and it was hard, and I cried a little bit when we left, and that was one of the first times I realized, what?
This is like being a parent.
This is my family, and I don't get to see them for a little bit. And it was kind of sad. And there's many different families like that, or even individuals where I was just like for example, there was one that I left my last area, which ended up was my first area. So it was cool to kind of go back and love people there.
Mm-hmm.
But one of them was the Ariola family. There was a mom and her child, and then the aunt and her children and her boyfriend. And that mom, the Maria, she had already been baptized, but her child was not, so we came in and baptized him, and then got the other two cousins of his, and actually right before I left, we set a baptismal date with his other sister of Maria, and that was just a sweet family to me, because there's just and those, one thing I learned is I love kids on my mission, because that was most of the baptisms I participated in were kids, and so it was just super sweet to see the spirit of that house change, and when I had to leave, it was kind of sad.
Sure?
Yeah, it is. I see it. There's a little...
Okay, because I'll be sad. Okay. On your mission, did you ever have to stand up for what you believed, even when it was a hard situation?
Yeah.
I mean, of course you did, but tell us about that.
Well, maybe this is two different questions, but Are you speaking like with a companion or even with someone out in the street that I was?
Both.
Okay. Well, um, we'll go with the one in the street first. There was many different times where I had to stand up for what I believed in, and it was super good practice because at the beginning of my mission, I just could have kind of stood there and hoping that I didn't get hit or anything. But by the end of my mission, you just stand there and you're just
Without bashing.
Without bashing, and you just feel it's one of those things where I kind of imagine, it talks about, speaking of like this Easter weekend, since we're thinking about Easter, there's the Palm Sunday when everyone's like cheering and the Pharisees tell Jesus to tell the people to stop. He's like, if they stop, the rocks will stop. And that's sometimes how I felt when I was just standing there, not bashing, but sometimes even when I wasn't talking, I just felt other forces testifying. Other forces, maybe angels, maybe the earth around me itself, just testifying that I knew that what was right, and it was cool to see that and see how feel that power. There's so many different instances. I can't think of one where I had to stand up, but it was cool to be part of that and to feel that testimony, not only within me but around me. And then with a companion, I had the opportunity, to be with a companion that I was the junior companion, he was the senior companion, and he had just finished being a zone leader. He had just finished being in a position of leadership, and I guess he took that as an opportunity to be a little bit more relaxed about the rules, a little bit more just, I can do whatever. And so, and at one point, it slowly just got worse and worse and worse, and I just finally had to stand up and say, that's not right. We're not going to listen to this music. We're not going to talk with that person that way. We're not going to do this. And it was scary because that was actually my second companion. It was just scary, and trying to figure out a way to stand up for what I believe, even to someone who should know what's right.
You should be a leader.
And it was a good experience for me because during that time it was super hard and I never wanted it again, but it was a super good way of just helping me be a good example to everyone else. Just realizing that even if I was in a place of leadership, I'd show people how it was to be a good missionary.
I love that. Thank you so much. What did you learn about dealing with your family situation that's hard, that's difficult?
Mm-hmm. Well, I learned
you probably learned that you weren't the only one.
Yeah. I was so, it stinks, but I was so blessed to have that because I had so many different family situations where it wasn't functional and where someone needed to stop a poor behavior, and just, helping, realizing that a situation like that does affect everyone, does hurt everyone, even everyone from the kids to the parents to the extended family. And so just being patient with that. Also realizing, this is an interesting thing, but since my mission, my dad, joined or affiliated himself with the Buddhist faith, and, one of our first conversations alone, he tried to, kind of bash with me a little bit. And just like we were talking about before, that was super good practice in the mission to kind of have to stand up for what I believe. And I kind of was scared about the situation because I felt like it was going to happen, but in the end, it all turned out all right because I've been prepared. Yeah. So Heavenly Father just has a really good way of preparing us.
Thank you.